And we are live on another edition of All In on High School Sports. Jennifer Valenti, Kurt Valenti, how are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
We got our first comment from our great friend and co-host of the K&K Sports Show, Mr. Kirkpatrick from Maryland. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the greatest high school sports talk on earth.
Thank you, Kenny, and thanks for watching as always.
Hey, we are back on we're back on a Tuesday night, but bad snowy weekend. Kenny, I think, got hit with some snow down there, this whole area. So, it's a little different, a little different weekend we had. I mean, watching football, but a little shovel in the driveway and stuff like that. Coach Breslin, good evening, Jenny and Kurt. Looking forward to a great show.
Thanks, Coach Breslin, and thank you for watching as well.
Absolutely, Coach. Hope all is well. So what do we got on the agenda tonight?
We have two fantastic guests slated for this evening. We are actually going to go out of state with our first guest. We will be welcoming Coach Dave Logan to the program. He is a high school football coach with over 25 years of coaching experience at the high school level in Colorado. An illustrious program that we'll tell a little bit more about when he arrives in a few minutes. But he is also a former NFL player and, ironically, for Mr. Kurt Valenti, the voice of the Denver Broncos out in Colorado. So because Kurt listens to his show daily, we were aware of his high school coaching gig. So we did reach out, and we are thrilled to have him accept our invite and join us this evening.
Awesome. And then our second guest tonight.
Our second guest will be David Cordoba, former wrestler at Kearney High School.
This is nice night. Bronco
it
fan,
is,
Broncos,
actually,
Kearney,
like
working Kearney.
Episode.
Yeah.
the Kearney connection and the Denver connection. But he is a former standout wrestler in New Jersey, but from Kearney High School. And he is the owner of the Cordoba Trained Wrestling Club. So we'll be talking to him about high school wrestling and his club, of course, in particular.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, we've always heard, wrestling where, listen, from a little, from when you're at that little level of, okay, you're going to go obviously through your high school and stuff, but those wrestling clubs have always been popular. And it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now with the girls
side,
with wrestling, Kenny's asking, is it Kurt's birthday today? No, it's not my birthday, Kenny. Not my birthday. Show just happened to work out like that tonight.
I know, it's funny. We didn't really even realize that till we were just doing it now. I didn't realize it anyway, both connections there. I see Kenny also commented about the snow melting fast in Maryland. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I went to school in Virginia, and when we had snow there, you would get, on the rarity we had snow, let me rephrase, like the next day we'd be like in shorts. It'd like be, and it'd all be gone. So, but it would shut down.
And talk about snow. There's actually snow in Colorado right now, so hopefully we get Coach on with no problem.
Yeah, exactly. He has to get home from his radio gig, and we'll thank him, of course, when he's on, but he's squeezing us in tonight for sure. So we're working with the time zones, we're working with his schedule, and as always, we really appreciate that from all
Big
of our
news
coaches.
from Dr. John. Dr. John, hope all is well. And his news is, so big news. Coach Pierre at Irvington, Gogarty at Cedar Grove, and Lamont at Caldwell were named the New Jersey Football Association's Coaches of the Year, meaning their peers elected them. That's awesome.
Fantastic. And you know what? I love, Dr. John is always great for giving us, good news that's current, and so thank you, Coach, for dropping that in there. But I love that they are nominated by their peers because it speaks volumes about what they do. So that's fantastic. And on the football front, you have some breaking news.
Yeah, a little breaking news. One of our good friends at the show, obviously always associated with Ramapo and stuff like that, but Coach Brian Gibbs today became the offensive coordinator at St. Joe's. So, congratulations to Coach Gibbs. Coach Breslin's actually saying congratulations to the three coaches.
And Coach Lamont, if I'm not mistaken, of Caldwell, actually just announced his retirement this week from the program.
Well, you know what? It's a great way to go out.
Absolutely.
Undefeated,
Absolutely.
top staying this team, top team in the state.
Yep.
But a shout out to Coach Gibbs. And again, we'll remember that game with the Northern Highlands, the sectional final. And him and the assistants there, Coach Breslin, all the coaches obviously there, Coach Acapenti, did an outstanding job. So hey, congratulations to Coach, and excited to see what we could do at St. Joe's as the OC. Our great friend Matt Staffiero from the Colorado area. Good evening, K&K fam. What's going on, Matt?
Mr. Staffiero, I hope you heard who one of our guests was this evening. I'm not sure if you were tuned in from the very beginning, but great timing because we will be having Dave. I'm going to call him Coach Dave Logan.
Coach Dave Logan.
But on the Denver radio circuit, I'm sure he's known as, the Dave Logan.
Dr. John, Irvington Golden Knights Wrestling Club, really great feeder program for us. IHS Wrestling back-to-back. SEC Liberty Division champions wouldn't happen without the club team.
Oh, very nice. Well, you know what? That's going to be kind of a topic for us
this
evening. And, we follow Cordoba Wrestling, or Cordoba Trained, I should say, on social media. And it's, you see kids from all over, obviously, but when you have like a feeder program that can go right into your high school, but just the importance of it in high school sports in general, in all sports, that club circuit has been and is becoming even more important. So.
And then Matt saying the voice of the Broncos.
Absolutely,
so,
yep, play-by-play, right on the KOA
play-by-play and his afternoon show, which is awesome, which has become part of our dinner. We'll tell him tonight. It's usually Bella, you, me, and Alfred and Dave.
Oh, it's so funny.
With that part of that side of the show.
So we are giving Coach Logan time to safely get home from his radio gig. So he will be joining us shortly. But I wanted to follow up we did a couple of topics 2 weeks ago. Coach Breslin joined us, and one of our topics was about multi-sport athletes. And I feel like the timeliness of that topic with the NFL playoffs, was very timely. Because you actually, if I'm not mistaken, sent me a picture.
I have to try to find it. Because I send you a lot of pictures.
It was the divisional semifinals, right? So there were 8 quarterbacks represented, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was the divisional round.
And the 6 of them were multi-sport athletes in high school, right?
And Matt's giving us a good update. It's snowing pretty heavy. Lives about 15 minutes from the studio. So.
And after that, I saw something posted, and I sent it to you.
I'm going to try to find it while you're talking.
About one of the top football recruits in the country at quarterback. Is Arch Manning the top quarterback recruit, or can we just say one of the top quarterback recruits for his class?
I would say he's the top. He's definitely one of them, but I would say he's the top.
So of him playing basketball, right, and dunking in front of some of the scouts that were there to see him. That was kind of something we touched upon too, that multi-sport athletes, when they're being recruited, the coaches might come see them play their other sports. So it was very timely, and I think that kind of speaks volumes about the importance of playing multiple sports.
As usual, I do not have that picture. Coach Breslin is saying, yes, we talked about him on the show. Mm-hmm. I cannot find that right now, but I want to say it was it 6 out of 8 of the quarterbacks that were in the divisional round that were, they played all 3 sports. And there was one, I want to say it was Stafford. One of them played 4. I can't find it now.
It was like football and baseball, or football and basketball.
There wasn't many that were football, baseball, basketball.
Right, but those were the represented sports. And here's the one I sent you: Arch Manning dunking in front of Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. So that was him playing basketball, which is, if you can't find it, you can't find it. But the point is, there's
Dr. John Arch is the number one national recruit in his class.
I didn't want to go on a limb and say that he was the number one. I was assuming just with the name alone.
You know what? I'm gonna throw this out there for you, okay? Because they've always said it's been up. There's Coach Breslin. I'll see if I can find it. But they've always said, again, Elway, Manning, Luck, and then Trevor Lawrence were the 4. I guess, graded quarterbacks, can't miss prospects to come out of the combine going into the NFL. Mm-hmm. Will Arch be even higher? Not, just listen, the Manning pedigree and all that kind of stuff. Do you think he'll be higher? I'm not going to say the man, over Peyton or Elway or even Luck, but I'll go Trevor Lawrence or him. Do you think he'll be graded higher than Trevor
I don't
Lawrence?
know. I think that's an impossible thing to predict at this point. He's coming in highly touted, of course, coming into college highly touted, but I think it depends on a lot of factors. A lot of things can happen. So could he be? Of course. But he, has to continue to develop, and that's going to be what, I mean, he's got the pedigree.
Well, he's got the pedigree. That's what I'm saying.
And he's got the resources to help him continue to develop beside his college with just his family. But it kind of remains, and you have to hope he doesn't get injured, of course, as well.
Right.
On wood, just a lot of crazy things can happen. So,
but he will be
it's
one
definitely
of
a possibility.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we
watched him play a little.
Yeah, oh yeah, we definitely But just looking back real quick, I think obviously Trevor Lawrence. The other guy I would say is on a college basketball level, the last one going from high school to college had to be Zion. And just that was an absolute circus, like having him at Duke. And I'm listening, it was great. It was like, they were rock stars, like it was wherever we went to go see him live in Virginia.
Can I tell a quick story?
Sure.
So we did. I will have to say that one of the best gifts that Kurt Valenti ever purchased me was Duke UVA tickets in Charlottesville, Virginia, when Zion, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish were playing for Mike Krzyzewski. Now, keep in mind, I'm saying that not because I'm a Duke fan, because I'm a University of Virginia fan. Which the year they won the national championship, they had Ty Jerome, Kyle Guy, Mamadi Diakite. I'm forgetting the one from who plays for Atlanta now. DeAndre Hunter, right? Awesome year. I think they lost 2 games that year, both to Duke.
Yep.
And the one we went to was a loss. They won. Actually didn't win the ACC championship that year, did they? I'm trying to remember because we saw them.
They didn't win the ACC.
We saw the year before. They lost, right? But we saw them at
our other great Colorado friend from
nice.
the Rocky Mountain Sports Network, David Slade. Good evening. Looking forward to this show with Coach Logan.
Oh, nice, very nice.
Hopefully, we get him on really shortly. I know it is snowing there. We heard it on the radio tonight. So, but okay, go with your story.
But the point being that I was so excited to be back in Charlottesville. Just to be back in Charlottesville was exciting enough, but I hadn't been at the new arena since they built the new basketball arena. Seeing the team that was like #1 in the country, UVA, so excited, such a fan of the sport, of Coach Bennett, and to see them against Duke, the possibility of watching them beat Duke, and just love watching. It's a blessing to beat Duke anywhere, but to be able to witness it with that team would have been fantastic. But of the 2 losses they had that year, that was one of them.
But the thing that's crazy is when we're talking about this,
LeBron showed up at the game.
Right,
LeBron James,
Rondo.
Yeah,
but going into that, I guess we're talking about Arch Manning, but we even say for high school. I mean, again, you got the Manning name, the pedigree, all that stuff. But you turn around now, is it going to be where, like Zion's? I bet you Zion at Duke probably got more quote unquote coverage and stuff than he does when he's in New Orleans.
Right.
I mean, think about it. They were national on national TV as much as they can report. I mean, the place it was like when we were down there. I mean, UVA won the national title that year, but everything was, hey, we're here to watch Duke. I mean, that's what it was.
Like LeBron was there to see Zion.
Right.
Yeah.
So
exactly. So it was but yeah, so it was that was a fun experience, but it's just funny how that was a loss.
Yeah, but it was, it was a great atmosphere, and let's get into one more of the topics we were talking about. And I know Coach Breslin can make a little statement. There's Johnny Beelan, best solo in the game. Saying hoops, throwing shade.
Always throwing shade. So actually, one of the other topics, when Coach Breslin was on, we had a bunch of topics, and we ran through about 6 of them, and we had a few more. So one of the ones that we were going to visit at that time was, and Coach Breslin can definitely speak to this, and we've actually spoken to him about it before, is in COVID times, when athletics did start back up, a lot of schools were streaming their games so that people who couldn't, when they limited crowd capacity or there was no crowds allowed at all, people were still able to enjoy the games. So we have the topic of, is that something that schools will continue to do now?
Right.
You know, even though crowds are back allowed, it's almost as if I really don't believe there's any high school. I don't want to say that there aren't any, but I think the sanctions have kind of been lifted. You know, you're going to games, you're in the crowds. There's not really any, you know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rules,
restrictions.
Restrictions,
right? So should they continue to live stream games? That's the question.
You know what? I guess I'm going to say this. By the way, Beelan saying yes, the school should continue to do it, make it a program at a school.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that idea, that it could be linked to the students who maybe have like an affinity for that type of technology, or maybe want to go into that career. I think that's what he's saying, right? Yeah.
Dr. John, I went to college at the University of Washington with Hope Solo. Regardless of gender, she was the best overall athlete I've ever seen compete across a plethora of sports. There you go. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. Very cool. And I wonder if, again, she was getting a lot of like the Zion type of attention, you know, because of the level.
But getting back to that, see, I like it. I'll be honest with you. I like the streaming part. You see, I know people are going to say, well, you know, you may lose people at a gate. They're not going to go. But the kids are still going to go, right? And Dave's saying, teach the students sports, you know, broadcasting.
Yeah.
Dr. John, we will. There's a ton of reason why streaming will continue. I think so too. You know, the students are still going to go. You know what I mean? You're not going to have, okay, listen, we've always said a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon, it's an event to go to the high school football game, right? So you're going to go to that. But you also may have like older people who don't want to be in the cold, or people who really can't go and, you know, walk far, park, you know, a mile and walk, so they want to watch the game.
Or even out of state. You know, family members that live out of state are just not in I'm going to make up a word, travelable distance to get there. You know, It affords them the opportunity to see it. Yeah.
Coach Breslin, it's feasible. I still think it's a good idea to do it. Yes, including the students is helpful. Sometimes getting them to do it after hours is difficult. Would have to make it part of the class, and then understanding that coming at night is part of it. Dr. John, 2 main streaming platforms that are used, NFHS and Huddle. Coach Breslin.
I did not realize. I knew NFHS. Obviously, they're very popular. I didn't realize. Obviously, Huddle from a coaching standpoint, but I did not realize that they were doing like live streaming. I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting.
You know, Coach Breslin, you know, saying agree that showing it to grandparents and this is family out of state, make it very helpful. How many people, like, you know what I'm saying, whether it's grandparents or aunts or uncles, they're out of state, what can they come see? Watch one game?
Right.
You know, now you can watch, Friday night, you could watch your nephew, your niece, your game every week.
Well, I'm going to say a little something else, actually, even, and I'm thinking of this. Tonight, while we were prepping for the show, I was scrolling through Twitter, and I can't remember who. Oh, it was our partners at Jersey Sporting News actually posted that today, February 1st, is the anniversary of Kristen Samoji, the basketball player from the 1990s who broke the all-time New Jersey scoring record. Ironically, broke her father's record. He did not have a three-point line. She was a phenomenal three-point shooter. And what? You want to tell me what it says?
Oh, no. I'm saying Dave's just saying he's trying to log on.
Okay.
Okay,
is he having
make sure he has the info.
Okay.
See, I like what Beelan's saying here, and I'm big with this. Town should make a town pro shop and have all different types of shirts, hoodies, etc. Get people to don't go to the games to watch it. Make it stream with news and updates. I like that. You know, both are affordable option. NFHS charges $2,500 a year for 5 years of service. Huddle Focus, their streaming platform, is $2,000 per year. We can all afford that. It's not a bad price.
Right. No, absolutely. And my point, getting back to the Kristen Samoji story, was that my father, you know, I was a basketball player, and he used to take me to see tons of games. I, credit that with making me a student of the game in high school.
Okay.
And just as important as practicing was watching. And I'm pretty sure we were at the game where she broke the record. I actually asked him tonight, but he did not confirm that. But, you know, if it was COVID times, or, you know, I had a game, like, wouldn't you want to watch a game like that? You know, like, not everybody maybe could get there, but maybe you would want to watch a game like that, you know?
Right.
Like, I think in this day and age, we could make that, you know, watchable and reach a grander audience, you know?
But see, I like Beelan's idea. I really do. You know, have a little, I think Garfield did it, Lodi did it a little, where you would go in and they would have, not like a store, themselves. I think we're
Okay.
not a store themselves, but have a little school store somewhere else instead of
Yeah.
like on the campus, and
Yeah.
do something like that. And I like that idea. I wonder if there's, in Texas and Florida, if they do have some stuff like that,
All right, so Coach Logan has arrived, so I'm going to admit him,
Okay.
and we will formally introduce him to our audience. His audio is getting connected, it looks like. Just give him a moment.
Okay.
Hi, Coach.
Okay.
Can you hear us?
Hey, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. How are you?
Well, I apologize for being a couple minutes late. We got a snowstorm here, and then I couldn't. I don't know what I did, but it wouldn't let me join. So I don't
No
know.
worries. We're so glad you made it. And ironically, before I officially introduce you to our audience, I know in our email correspondence, I told you that my husband Kurt is a huge Denver Broncos fan. So we actually listen to you most times we're eating dinner. I have to tell you. So
You're part
I feel
of
like
our
you're
dinner
part of our
crew.
dinner. So
Wow. I think you guys have to revisit really what your dinner is about. To tell you the truth, but,
I'm not gonna lie, Coach. Sometimes I think the same thing.
I'm sure.
But
Let me see if I can get this.
the irony is we were aware of your weather situation because a few times as we're listening,
Right.
I hear, snow is expected, and I look at Kurt and I go, we're getting snow? And then I'm like, wait a minute, we're listening to Denver radio.
Yes, of course. I'll shut this door one quick moment.
Okay.
No problem. While Coach is doing that, I am going to officially introduced. So we are joined by Coach Dave Logan. He is a former NFL player playing in the league for 9 seasons. He is currently the voice, as we told you, of the Denver Broncos as the play-by-play commentator for KOA Radio, where he also hosts a daily sports radio show. He is here tonight to discuss his high school football coaching, where he's been a Colorado head high school football coach since 1993, all at the 5A level, which is the largest school size in Colorado. He has amassed 10 state titles at 4 different schools, which is a national record, including 2 three-peats, 1 three-peat being at his current high school, which is Cherry Creek. He is also tied for the most state titles in Colorado history, and he is the only coach to do that in the nation so far at 4 different schools. So, Coach, your accolades speak volumes, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. Appreciate you guys having me on.
We got a comment from Matt Staffiero from the Rocky Mountain Sports Network saying, Creek, let's go. And Kenny Kirkpatrick, Coach Logan, I am best friends with Kurt, and I can tell you I've never seen Kurt more excited for a guest on All In on High School Sports Show. So,
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's nice to hear.
And John Beelan is saying, he's given us a little history here,
let's
saying,
hear it.
did you know Coach Logan is one of 3 people to be drafted by 3 major sports?
We're actually
Man.
going to get to that in one of my questions this evening.
So,
All right.
Coach, thank you so much for coming on. Like Jen says, I am a diehard Bronco fan here in Jersey. Yes, it is true. So it is an honor to have you on like that to talk with you. But your accomplishments as a coach, as a head football coach, like Jen was reading before, it's just extraordinary. And my first question is, most coaches would love to win 1 title at 1 place. You've done it, like Jen said, multiple times at multiple schools. So I guess 2-part question. First is, what do you credit your success to? And then if you could just talk about where you are now, the Cherry Creek program.
Well, I mean, I think in order to have any kind of success in football at any level, you have to have a good foundation of really what your belief system is. And with kids this age, you're talking about young men, 15, maybe 14 in 9th grade, 14, 15, 16, and 17. You obviously want to teach them as many football skills as you possibly can. You also, I think, look at this as an opportunity to teach them some life lessons, to help them sort of navigate this crazy world. And you want to try to win some games. Obviously, these kids work hard, coaches work hard, and so that's important as well. But it's not the most important thing. I just think being a good role model, being able to connect with your young guys at various levels. I think it's important, obviously, as a head coach, that you put together a staff that shares your belief system, the staff that understands how important this role is, being a coach, whether a head coach or assistant coach to young guys this level. And I've been fortunate enough to have, excuse me, a number of my guys that have stayed with me for 20 plus years. So you build continuity. They have an understanding of how I do things, and I do for them as well. And so you tinker with the system every single year, but the foundation, your beliefs, and how you go about coaching these young guys, that's been in place for quite some time.
Nice. And Coach, what are your expectations for your student athletes, both on and off the field?
I think it's important that you stress that football is not the end-all, be-all. I love football. I think football is the greatest game in the world. I think it teaches kids to work together as a group. I think it teaches kids to be selfless, to put what's best for the team in front of what's best for themselves. Too often today in the NFL, and I'm a guy that, as you said, played in the NFL for a long time, and I think it's great. And I don't begrudge these young guys making as much money as they can, because I know how hard the game is. But there's too much, in my estimation, of the me sort of thing. And that's, to me, that is counterproductive to putting together a team and having young guys understand that, you know what, you might not get everything you want, but it has to be, if you're going to be successful, you've got to embrace the process that we're in, and then you've got to put the team goals in front of the individual goals. So, and then in terms of off the field, I mean, I think a lot of the young guys that I've coached over 29 years would tell you that I expect them to not to do anything that would ever embarrass themselves or their family or anybody in the coaching staff or the school that they represent. And I think that in terms of one of the benefits of being a coach with respect to what players, I mean, players, normally speaking, you don't have any issues with players, or very few issues on the field, right? And so when players have an issue, let's say in a classroom, what I ask normally is, hey, this happened. Is this how you would respond to something I asked you to do, or a question that I posed, or a comment that I made? And more often than not, the answer to that is no. And so I say, well, listen, you know what? The teacher deserves the same amount of respect that you give me and that you give other coaches out here. We are teachers with whistles. So I think, to conduct yourself in a way, both on and off the field, that would make your family proud.
And Coach, I have a follow-up question for you before Kurt's next question is about multiple sport athletes, actually. It's a topic we discuss a lot on this show. We were both multiple sport athletes, and right now there's a lot of focusing on one sport, right? And so we wanted to kind of pose that question to you and get your thoughts on it, as not only were you a professional football player, you were drafted, potentially drafted right out of high school, if I'm not mistaken, for baseball, and you were a dual Division I sport athlete for basketball and football. So can you kind of speak to your thoughts on specialization versus playing multiple sports?
Sure. I'm a big believer in this topic. I feel very strongly about this. I think I probably am in the minority, but it has not lessened me being vocal about that and speaking my mind when I talk to parents. I believe you are much better off participating in multiple sports. I do not believe in the specialization of any particular sport. I think you run the risk of burning that young boy or young girl out. I think you run the risk in a much greater way of developing chronic injuries because of repetitive motion. I think to go out and play another sport, we are increasing our competitiveness, which I think that's one thing that we as coaches, we have to teach at times our young people. And I coach primarily boys, so we have to teach our young guys that, you know what, this is all about competition. I mean, I've said so many times over the years that when you have starters that are returning after having a successful year, that's great. But last year is done. You're not guaranteed a starting position. You got to come out and compete every single day in practice. And I think by doing that, we hopefully prepare our people, our guys, to compete in the real world when their sport, when their career is done. But as far as playing multiple sports, yes, I'm a big believer of that. And too often we see, sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's club coaches, sometimes it's individual coaches. I get it. I mean, I get it. If you work on something, over and over and over and over again, you would think that you'd have a pretty good chance to improve. And I agree to a certain extent, but I think what we're seeing now is parents and other coaches that are saying, in order to become this, you have to spend this much time at a young age doing that. Listen, the percentage of being professional athletes for these kids that are 12, 13, 14 years old is really small. And I think you're doing, again, just a personal opinion, I think you're doing a disservice to that young female athlete or male athlete by concentrating only on one sport. The last thing I would say is I've seen too many times where a kid that has been concentrating on one sport since they were about 9, by the time they're 15, for whatever reason, they don't like the sport anymore. Mm-hmm. And then what's the fallback plan? Because you haven't participated in other sports. You haven't learned other skills. You haven't learned other things that could be of value to you. So absolutely, I think multiple sport participation is absolutely essential.
Dr. John Taylor, our good friend, is making a comment saying you're not in the minority, Coach. I think most high school coaches agree with you. I find most of that pressure for playing one sport comes from parents and club coaches. He's the athletic director at Irvington High School.
Okay.
David Slade saying Coach Logan is a high school legend here in Colorado. Matt Staffiero, I remember the Mullen days. Dave's asking, Coach, was coaching college ever a possibility for you?
When I first interviewed in 1993 to be a head coach, that seemingly was the narrative on the outset, that I was just jumping in after my NFL career and I was going to coach high school football and use that as a stepping stone to go coach college or beyond. And frankly, that was not, that narrative was on the outside. That was never part of my narrative. I just always wanted to work with high school kids. My dad was a youth coach. Unfortunately, he passed before I became a head coach, but we had many conversations about the importance of giving back to young people, working with them and trying to teach them various sports and mentoring them. And so that's really what I want to do. I've had opportunities. I was offered the head coaching job at a university here in the state. And, I've had NFL offers a couple of times to be an assistant coach. I just never wanted to sort of drag my family through that process. I think I would have loved it if it had been just me. I think I would have, because I love the X's and O's of football. I love the strategy. It's a game of chess on both sides of the ball all the time, which really is fascinating to me. But no, frankly, I'm very satisfied being a head coach in high school, and I would quite imagine that will be where I'll end my career.
Okay. Dr. John, also, again, he's an athletic director at Irvington High School who just won a state championship in New Jersey. And he's saying, as an athletic director, I always try to find ways to support my coaches. What are things you ask from your AD to help you and your players feel appreciated and be put in good position to be successful?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think in terms of the athletic directors that I've worked for, you ask for their support. You ask for them when you have issues with parents, and inevitably you will from time to time. You ask for their support in that. You ask for the kind of support that listen, high school coaches don't coach to make money, right? I mean,
we know that.
Salaries are minuscule. I mean, honestly, this is 29 years for me, and I think my salary this year, and it's the top here in Colorado. I'm off the scale. I think it's like $5,000. Wow. So you got assistant coaches that you try to take care of. But I asked for the athletic director to find our sport and the support of our sport to be as important as we feel like it is as a head coach. I mean, getting word out to the student body and making home games a big deal. We've seen a decline in that really over the years. I mean, even back in the mid 70s when I was in high school, high school football in Colorado, it just was the thing to do. And every weekend, seemingly, you had stadiums that were very full. We at Cherry Creek draw pretty good crowds for home games, but too often I see other schools that don't. And I think part of it is the covering of our high school sports, and that's part of the media's responsibility, as well as generating support from the student body. So just things like that, things that I've learned a long time ago. I don't worry too much about things that I cannot control. So I just try to, with the things that I can control or have a say in, I just try to be as intentional as I possibly can.
I'm just going to piggyback off of what you said, because Dr. John is a good friend of the show, and we follow him on social media as well, and he takes care of all of his programs. Yes. I feel like gives them even all levels as well. So, and
that's awesome.
And him commenting like that is showing that he wants to help support his coaches is just, again, speaks volumes as him as a person. And I feel like you hit the nail on the head, Coach. Like, I coached 2 varsity sports that were not big time sports, field hockey and girls lacrosse. And you know what? My AD was always on my sideline at every home game. Would get on the bus before a county game or a state game and wish my team well. And it was those little things. I mean, I loved him. I really did. And it was those little things that, I really look back and appreciate. Did I love new uniforms? Yeah. But but you know what? Those little things. So thank you. That was
Sure.
Coach, my next question, the football has definitely been changing over the years, high school level, college, even in the professional level, especially on the offensive side of the game, particularly with the quarterbacks, with the mobile quarterbacks and stuff like that. How important is it, would you say, starting from that high school level, that you as the coach and as a coaching staff, that you guys, I guess I want to use the word adapt to what you guys have talent-wise, because like you said, year to year, it could be totally different. You might have a mobile quarterback. Now you have a pocket quarterback. So how important is it for you as a staff to adapt as much to your players, and or talent?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. And I think really, I have seen and coached against and coached with some really smart football people that have been at the high school level, right? I know from the outside looking in that I think at times fans, parents, people that really don't know can look at their team or whatever and say, well, it's just a high school coach. Trust me, I've seen some high school coaches that I think know more football than some of their college counterparts, because I've seen these college guys, not all of them, but some of them get up on a board when I ask them, hey, let's talk a little bit about your offense or your defense. What do you like to run? And I'm amazed at times of how much and how good high school coaches really are. So, I think that I think in terms of adapting, one thing that makes it tougher on high school coaches, now colleges are starting to get into this because of the early out rule for the NFL, but in high school, your roster, in terms of the kids that actually play the most, turns over every couple of years. And as you said, you might have a junior quarterback that is a prototypical pocket passer for 2 years, and so you tailor your offense. You don't change the foundation of what you believe in, but you tailor the offense to suit his particular skill set and the others around him. Well, then the next year, maybe you've got a sophomore quarterback that is more of a mobile threat, a guy that can run. So I think the best coaches and the programs that are successful are able to recognize during their summer work, their off-season work, as to what sort of personality is this team this year going to have, and then to tailor what you do both on offense and defense to best suit those players' skill set. So, what your offense might look. I mean, somebody that scouted you, I know for us, somebody that scouted us, a year before, and then this particular year, it might not look the same, and that's because really it isn't. The cast of characters has changed dramatically, and so we we have to change as well.
Jen, I got to go off script real quick for Coach, because I coached high school football for about 16, 17 years, was an offensive coordinator, and I always was like stealing stuff, like watching NFL and this and that. And it was funny, we were watching the past couple of weeks, we're watching the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, and they're putting, Trent Williams in the off the ball, motioning him, and, and you're like, wow, like I would steal that. Like, obviously you watch so much football. Do you ever like whether it's just watching home being like, yep, I like that, I'm going to incorporate that?
Oh, without question. I've done that for the last 29 years. I mean, I watch, since I became a head coach, I watch football totally differently. And I watch it with a pad and a pen.
That's it, yeah.
And I've got because I'm the play-by-play voice of the Broncos, I've got the ability to see their all 22 stuff with any team that I want. One tidbit that's worth mentioning, you mentioned Kyle Shanahan. Of course, my last year in the league was his dad's first year in the league as wide receiver coach. And he was the wide receiver coach of the Denver Broncos. That was the team that I had just been traded to. And so I became very close with the Shanahan family. In fact, Kyle went to Cherry Creek High School here in Denver. So he is a large following of fans in the Denver area. But I think he is as creative in terms of what he likes to do on offense as any coach that I've seen in recent memory. And what he does that I really love to see is that, he'll give you different formations. He'll give you different personnel groupings, as you mentioned, with Trent Williams in the backfield. But the foundation of his offense is on power running. I mean, he's able to run the football with power. He did it this year a lot with Deebo Samuel, which is such an unconventional way to do it. But those are the guys that I enjoy watching game plan an opponent, because they're very creative. A lot of window dressing and what the defense is looking at. But what it boils down to, if you play them, you better be able to stop the running game.
He's not lying. We watch games and he'd be like, I'd be putting that in.
I love it. Love it.
Love it. That's great. That's great.
Coach, we actually started this show during COVID. It gave us the time to kind of start something we kind of always wanted to do as two former coaches. And our kind of idea behind it was highlighting as many players and programs as possible. So would you take a few moments and talk about some of your athletes that played a pivotal role on this year's squad and the season you just had, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, you have some seniors who will be graduating who've committed to play at the next level?
Oh, wow. We've been, I should say we as coaches have been very, very fortunate throughout majority, if not all of our career, is we've been around kids that football is important to. I have many coaching friends that coach at other schools and have had great careers, but it's a challenge to make sure guys get to practice, right? It's a challenge for guys to go to class and to remain eligible so that they can play. And for the most part, that's been something that I have found that in football where we are, I mean, kids know football is important and they want to do the right thing and they show up for practice. And so this last year, we were able to win the state championship. I had two seniors that have gone on that have signed Division I scholarships. One was George Fitzpatrick, who is an offensive lineman that is already back in Columbus, signed with Ohio State. I had a senior wide receiver, Kai O'Day, that signed with Colorado State University. And then a handful of guys that signed at smaller colleges as well. So, and coming back, we were really an underclass dominated team this past year. I think a lot of people were surprised that the season turned out the way it did for us at the end of the season. And sometimes, you know what, we played four postseason games and we didn't have a single turnover in 4 games. Wow. And so our message is, listen, if we don't give the game away, then a lot of times the other team will give us the game. So I was so proud of the kids to play. We played 4 good teams, and to not have a single turnover, it puts you in position, at least gives you a chance to win the game. Mm-hmm. So I was really proud of this last year's group.
Nice.
Coach, I got one more because, again, we're from New Jersey, and
I
obviously
could never have told by the accent.
New Jersey. Listen, there's great football in New Jersey. You know, we just had on
Yep.
Bergen Catholic High School there, where I want to say they finished number 3 in the country. And
Yep.
but the only thing where a lot of people, I'm not going to say they look down on it a little bit, but the state championships. You know, when we say, you know, we had a couple years ago, and New Jersey's working on it. I want to say the next 2 years it's going to change, but a couple years ago we had something like 23 state sectional championships. So everyone's like, well, I mean, how many state champs can you have? So you
isn't that
guys,
big.
right? You guys kind of go with the Class A, Class B. I'm sorry, Class. What is it? Like 5, 4, 3.
5A, 4A, 3A.
Do you got, like, as a coach, do you like the way it is where you're really playing to like a true state champion, or do you think there should be more? Because in Jersey, once they start cutting it down, we're not going to have 23. I mean, we're going to have, you know, our parochial, he's going to be whatever,
7.
but there's going to be 7 state champs, not 23. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you like how you guys do it?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the New Jersey rules. I mean, you guys had 23 state champions in
You
football.
know what?
There-
It is. We have Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, Group 5, Parochial A, Parochial B.
So there's
right?
like a North 1 Group 1, a
But
North
each-
2 Group 1.
Each group has 4 sections.
And the purpose of that is to what?
So you play to a sectional title rather than these. You have a North
22, Dr. John saying
Okay.
22 section. We have 22 state sectional champions.
You would play to.
I mean, that's more than California, I think.
It's excessive. Yes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really.
I mean,
I
I-
think for
So like a Group
scheduling-
1 team, there's really no Group 1 state champ. Like you could be, like I said, North 1, Group 1, and then you're North 2, Group 2, or in the South, and they're not playing each other. So it's like, you know, there's 4 Group 1 state champions. It's kind of like that.
I'm not familiar with that. That's the first I've ever heard of that. I'm sure there are people in positions of power in New Jersey that could tell us exactly why that is. But I mean, I like the way we have it here in Colorado. You have, I believe it's 42 5A teams, and it's based on the size of your school, your enrollment. We have some schools that have had really traditionally really good football programs that have opted to play up even though their enrollment is down. And I certainly understand that. I just always, you know, for me, it would be that I think kids want to play against the best players they possibly can. And I'm all about trying to put our kids in positions where, I mean, we're now waiting on our week 2 game where we have a chance to go down and play a really good team in Texas. Now, you know, my mom was from Dallas, and so I have roots in Texas. I'm eminently familiar with Texas high school football, and we might be biting off a chunk of the Bears' butt that is a little bit too savory. So, but I think it's a great experience.
Yep.
Great experience for my kids. We try to run it just like a college trip in terms of what they wear. We get to the airport, get to the hotel, bed check, the whole 9. So I'm all in favor of it. You know, if you lose a game, you lose a game. But go out and compete with the absolute best teams and give your kids a chance to play on a big stage and hopefully get them ready, at least for some of them, to go on and play college football.
And Dr. John saying Jersey has 22 state sectional champions. California has
Okay.
14. He's saying 14 for
Wow.
California.
Okay.
That's a good.
I don't know how that
comparison,
makes
yeah.
any sense,
Exactly.
but it is what it is.
That's it.
It will be changing.
Yeah, they
in
will
New
be
Jersey,
changing.
yeah.
So
Okay.
But just an interesting to get a different perspective. Coach,
Sure.
we're gonna do a last little bit with you, if you don't mind, that we call rapid
Sure.
fire. We're gonna throw
Sure.
some more fast-paced questions at you for a little more fun.
all
Do I
right.
get
So
one-word answers, or are these just
you
rapid
can give
fire?
you can give more. I think there'll be more. I think they'll require more than one
Yeah.
word, but
Okay.
so coach, real quick, we get married. What was it? 17? What was it? 2018.
Yep.
We get married
You have
2018.
to ask Jen.
I
You
do,
have to
I
ask
do,
her
Coach.
when you got married.
I do. But
Yeah.
so we
That's
said.
why
oh,
you're not an offensive coordinator anymore.
So we said, what do you want to do? We're going to go like on a real honeymoon. It was late. School's almost starting. So she said, want to go to Denver for a few days? Of course I want to go to Denver.
I'm not
Nice.
really sure that that's how that worked, but we'll go.
We
with
wound
that.
up
Nice.
going to Denver and it was awesome. The only thing was, we had a little problem, Coach. We didn't find we really didn't find a pizza place and a great Italian place when we were down there. So when we go again, can you give me a pizza place and an Italian place that we definitely have to hit up?
Oh wow. Okay. I live in the southern part of the city, so or south of downtown. How about that? Southern part of the city. So I would say we like to go to Perry's Pizza. Matter of fact, we went there last weekend. So I would say that. And man, Italian food. I love really good old fashioned, like home. I have to have the noodles homemade. I don't want the canned stuff. So where would I go for really good? I'm going to gag on this too. There's a really good restaurant in downtown Littleton. It's a family-owned restaurant, and damn, I'm going to gag on the name. Let me think about that, and I'll let you know hopefully before the show's over. But it's quaint and excellent homemade Italian food.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we stayed right in the heart of Denver, right? Not far from that strip, right, where you did all the little. I can't remember the
16th
name
Street Mall.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
So we stayed,
yeah.
So
you're probably 20. I would be 25 minutes or so south.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and I think we ate. Is there an Elway's in Cherry Creek? Now that I'm thinking
Yes.
of it. Yes.
Yes.
I just was thinking. I think that's the one that
Yeah.
we ate at, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Just all coming back to me.
I've heard of that guy.
So what's funny is with the pizza question is we went, we're Jersey people. We go to Manhattan a lot. We live
There's
15 minutes
there's
from-
pizzeria after pizzeria where we're from.
You
Right,
could get a slice
right.
anywhere. So one night, Kurt's like, "Well, let's just get a slice," and we couldn't find a place that would sell us just a slice of pizza.
Oh wow. Wow.
It was like a pie, or I'm serious when I say we could go in any 5 minutes in any direction. It was
Yeah.
it was eye opening for these Jerseyans.
I'll tell you one place. It's not the place I was thinking of, but there's you guys will love this, and he's a good friend of mine that owns it. There's a place in Littleton called Big Bill's New York Style Pizza, and they have excellent food. The pizza is outstanding, and I think you guys will like that too. When you come out here, hit me up, and I'll make sure I get you there.
There you go.
Thank you. All right, Coach, do you have any game day superstitions or rituals?
Game day superstition or ritual. I did as a player, but I pretty much do exactly the same thing for every game as a coach. Come in, I'm dressed in sweats, and then we'll go to my office, shut the door, look at the last little bit of tape. And coaches are like, "Coach, the game plan's already in," and I know, but I'm just looking to see if I can just see one thing about the opponent's films that would stick in my mind, that would help me help our kids during the game. Then put the coaching attire on, and off to battle we go.
Okay, my next one, and I promise I wasn't going to talk much about this, but I have to ask you this, and please give me hope on this one. Is there a chance, and just a chance, that I will finally be buying my Aaron Rodgers Bronco jersey this season?
Yes, I think there is.
I will take that. I will take it just like that.
I was on the air doing a show right before we started the draft, because we obviously, doing the Bronco games, we carry the draft as well. And so I got two texts from two people that I'm close to, not in Denver, and said, "Hey, this thing is really close to happening." And so I got very excited before the draft and said, "You know what? I'm not so sure this might not happen." Now, obviously it didn't, but I do think that Aaron Rodgers has put himself in a position to where he now has the leverage to decide what he wants to do. Does he want to go back to Green Bay? They're well over the salary cap. They've got to decide what they're going to do with Devontae Adams, who he says the best player he's ever played with. So at this point in his career, would he like a change? Would he like to go to a different scenario? My gut tells me the answer to that is yes. Now, I do think there'll be other teams other than the Broncos that would have an interest, obviously, in a guy like Aaron Rodgers. But I think Denver is in a good position. Salary cap wise, they're about 40 $5 million under the salary cap. They have draft choices available, and they have good young players as well. So I will give you some hope. I think that is a possibility.
Awesome.
That's all he needed.
That's all I needed.
All right, Coach, this is a one-word answer for you. Nike, Under Armour, or Adidas? I saw that peeking out all night. Okay.
There it is. There's his answer.
Under Armour. We've been an Under Armour school for, probably 15 plus years. Really happy with them. Great company. Kids love the gear. So, yeah, I would say Under Armour.
Okay, and my last rapid fire is the best Bronco game you ever called.
Well, it would have to be Super Bowl 32. The Broncos, as you guys probably know, had not been very successful in the Super Bowl. They played out in San Diego, and they were 13-point or thereabout underdog to the Packers. And, as Terrell Davis scored that last touchdown to put them up by 7, and then we hit the 2-minute warning, and my color analyst at that time was Scott Hastings. He was headed down to the field to do the interviews down in the field, and it hit me as a kid from Denver. I mean, I grew up in Denver, that these guys are 2 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. How cool would that be? Because the Broncos, back in the mid-'60s, in fact, their franchise was founded in 1960, but for the decade of the 60s, they were not good. And then, the 4 Super Bowl losses. Yep. They were blowout losses. So people that are Broncos fans had taken a lot of grief. There had been a lot of heartache to be a Broncos fan. And so it hit me at that point, like, you know what? All of that can get washed away here in the last 2 minutes if they can find a way to get a stop on Brett Favre and the Packers.
John Mobley, baby. John Mobley.
Yes. That would, at John Mobley, it's right, knock the last pass down. That would have to be, I think, just because of the magnitude of the game, my favorite game.
And, Coach, my last one for you. We can't end without getting your Super Bowl prediction. Bengals or Rams?
Ooh. I am so amazed at what the Bengals have been able to do and have such high praise for Joe Burrow. On the other side, I think the Rams had to not only get to the Super Bowl, but they have to win in order to validate, to make the trade for Matthew Stafford a success. I mean, they go on the road, they beat Tom Brady and the Bucs, they come back home, they've lost to the Niners 6 straight times, they find a way to win that game. But all of that to me will not matter if they cannot win one more game in their home stadium in the Super Bowl. So I think the Bengals are very dangerous. But I think if I had to wager hard-earned cash at this point, I would have to take the Rams to find a way to win that game.
All right, great. Thank you, Coach, so much for joining us. We appreciate you, coming home in the snowstorm, hopping right on after your radio show. We really appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
You bet.
Thank you so much, Coach.
You bet. And I appreciate the fact you guys cover high school sports. I think that's very cool. So success to you guys.
Thank you,
Coach.
Much appreciated.
You bet.
Good night.
Night.
Okay.
All right, so we
Coach
have
Logan.
Coach, and we actually have Coach Cordoba in the
Okay,
waiting room as well,
awesome.
so we'll bring him right in. So great guest, Coach Logan, talking about his program.
Yes.
So we'll get Coach Cordoba right in. 2 Davids on tonight's show, so let's see if he is able to join. It looks like his camera. Oh, there we go. Hi, Coach. Audio's connecting there.
Okay.
Hi, Coach. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us. We apologize for a little bit of a delay, but we appreciate you waiting around for us.
No problem.
Allow me to officially introduce you to our audience. We are joined here by Coach David Cordoba. He is a 2000 graduate of Kearney High School. During his 4 seasons there, he amassed a record of 138 wins and 4 losses. Over the course of his 4-year high school career, he placed first, second, and third in the state championships, becoming a state champion in his junior year. He is now the owner of his own wrestling training club called Cordoba Trained Wrestling, which he's here to talk about tonight. Hi, Coach, again.
How you doing? I'm sorry I'm just down. I just ended practice. Kids are just leaving now. I had to rush them out of here, tell them how to get on the call.
No worries, no worries. We
appreciate you finding time for us.
Yeah. I threw them out of here pretty quick, and they're usually really loud right now. I can turn the camera around. I can show you. I don't know. There you go. So
awesome.
We're just cleaning up.
Oh, that's
we're just
awesome.
cleaning up now.
Well, you know what,
and I
Coach?
just kicked them out.
You know what? You have a beautiful facility, and
Thank you.
You obviously have a passion for this sport and a passion for sharing that with young wrestlers. So I was wondering, to start, you could kind of like walk us through your days as a high school wrestler at Kearney, to then like giving private lessons and coaching young wrestlers, to now opening up this phenomenal facility in Fairfield. Can you tell us how that came to be?
Yeah, I mean, I started wrestling 9 years old, picked it up, came fairly easy to me. I played baseball, football, but wrestling seemed the thing that came the easiest to me. And I remember in 7th grade year, I asked my dad if I could go to a wrestling club, and he brought me to one in Fairfield where Chris Cafari was the owner, and kind of took me under his wing. And ever since then, been working with him, went to Russia with him, went around the country with him. I got to high school, like you said, as a freshman, took third in the state, took second as a sophomore, and won it my junior year. Unfortunately, lost in my senior year in the finals again. But I ended up going Division I, and didn't work out for me, and came back home and wrestled Division III at Montclair State. And I got into high school coaching after that. And when I was a head coach at St. Mary's for a couple of years in Rutherford, and then finally, it was either, all right, get a real job or do something you're really passionate about. And so I started just like working at different different wrestling clubs and helping out, their programs. And about 4 years ago, my fiance and I were, together around 2 years already. And she just said, hey, why don't you just save up and just kind of do something on your own? And we did. So we found a little spot in Little Falls, just like a little back office area. And we started with like 10 kids, and we grew out of it real quick within a year, and then we wanted a bigger place. So we ended up in Fairfield on Route 46, and found a bigger location. And it's just been great ever since. Been here 2 years now. We got over 150 students, 45 girls, and we're just continuously growing. And obviously it was tough during this pandemic. It was crazy, but we survived, and we're looking forward to the future.
Nice.
Awesome. Coach, again, thank you so much for coming on. I actually work in the Kearney school system. So like your name, and we always talk wrestling, the Cordova name always comes up as the, cause you're Kearney's only state champion, correct?
Only, yes.
Only one.
Yeah.
And,
officially, because Jacob Cardenas, which is one of my my students, is a Kearney kid, but he won 2 state championships for Bergen Catholic.
Yeah. And Mullins
Jimmy
too,
Mullins.
right? Jimmy Mullins,
Yeah.
No, so that's awesome to be the only one. And can you just, Coach, can you go over a little more in depth about what Cordoba trained wrestling is?
So we're open 12 months out of the year. There is no off season for these kids. We got kids that here all year long training, and we compete all summer, all spring, all over the country. And now they're in season right now, so basically they go to their high school or rec practices, and they come straight afterwards for more work. They do it obviously, not only for coaching, but they do it for different partners. They work out with the same kids every day at practice, and they want different guys from different towns, and it pushes them. So we start them at 5 years old, all the way up to high school. We do train MMA girls, and we train, college people, and, newly started working with girls, about a year ago. And I know we're going to get into that, but girls wrestling is blown up in New Jersey and all over the country. So we seem to have the premier program in the state, but it's growing everywhere. Every club is growing, and We're here 6 days a week and just training.
That's great, Coach. And it's actually a perfect segue into my next question about the girls' wrestling side of wrestling blowing up. We last year we had a couple of female wrestlers on. Even from last year to this year,
So much bigger.
seeing they have their own state tournament. It's amazing to see. I feel like in the past couple of years, you've seen girls, and you could call them trailblazers, and now they've already, I feel like, impacted these young girls who, like you said, if I'm not mistaken, you have like elementary school aged girls who are already training with you. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about like how that has transpired, what you've seen, and if you really see it continuing to grow.
Yeah. So, when I was younger, there was, see you later. When I was younger, there was girls that wrestled, and there was girls like, there was even a girl on my high school wrestling team, but it was just something like they just did, just to be a part of something. And I got friends of mine that are now in college and past college that wrestled in high school, and it wasn't popular. Like no one really kind of gave them the time of day, and so girls were only starting like freshmen, juniors, seniors in high school, and by the time they even started getting somewhat good, they were already graduating. And back then there was nobody wrestling in college anyway, so it was done for them. But they learned a lot of good life lessons that they talk about to this day. And when they look back and they see this, the way the girls are booming, they wish they could go back in time and do that. And the good thing is that those girls will then have and will have kids of their own. And if they have a daughter, you better bet they're going to be starting them real early, because they're starting at 5, 6 years old and everything, MMA too. And I trained a girl, Erin Blanchfield. She's only 22 years old. She's one of the top UFC prospects in the country, in the world, I mean. And, she's only 22. So she's one of the youngest girls in the UFC. And, back in the UFC, back in the day, you weren't good until you were 30, but it's starting younger and younger. And these girls are trailblazers. And in 10 years, I can honestly see almost most high schools having a full girl squad, and there will be full dual meets everywhere, on top of all the tournaments they have. Because they have tournaments every Sunday now. The girls are competing every Sunday. So, which is like, it was non-existent last year. Now they're wrestling every Sunday.
Wow. It's just grown at like an exponential rate. It's crazy. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Dr. John Taylor, he's the athletic director at Irvington High School, saying a lot of my wrestlers participate in club for that same reason. In high school matches, you may only see the top wrestlers in the state once a year. At clubs, they can see those top wrestlers each day. It's the best way to get better in the sport.
Very nice.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I talk to these high school coaches and I say, hey, listen, we're not against you. We're like, we're here to help.
Right.
Like, we're like, we're just adding in flavor, because you got to think about some of these, these coaches are, they're with their kids 3-4 months out of the year, and we spend 12 months out of the year with them, and we're with them all the time. So it's like, hey, we're going to prep them for you, man. And then when the season comes around, they're all yours. And we could be a team together. We don't have to be like, hey, don't go to the club, don't do this, don't that. I mean, we're all in this together. Grow wrestling, whether it's boys or girls, we're all on the same team. And to be honest, to an even bigger picture, we're just trying to help New Jersey wrestling be the best.
Very nice.
Dave, question: how rewarding is it for you, and you and all your coaches there? But I guess we'll speak. We're talking to you, so for your answer, how rewarding is it to see your wrestlers succeed and grow? Whether it's, like you're saying, they're in the younger kids in some kind of tournament, high school, whether it's states or just in their high school matches. How rewarding is it for you when you're training these kids, you're getting them ready, and you see them succeed?
Some of these kids, you have them since they're little, and you see how far they've come since they first walked in here. And, some kids, they come in out of shape, timid, nervous, insecure. And when you start seeing all these changes in them, not even wrestling, just changes in life and the way they are, how they're more, just what's the word? They're just more outgoing now. They're more confident in themselves. and then they bring it to school, they bring it to day-to-day lives, and we talk to the kids inside and outside the wrestling room, and we're in their lives pretty much all the time. We know everything about them. We know their grades, their parents. I'm on the phone till like 12 o'clock at night talking to parents about wrestling, and they're calling me 6 a.m. in the morning. This is a full-time gig. This is not 3 hours and I'm done with it. It's all day long that I'm talking to parents, and you help parents out. You kind of like, walk them through the sport of wrestling if they never wrestled before, and tell them what to expect out of their kids and stuff like that. And watching the kids succeed and watching the kids become, they don't even have to be state champs. They just, even if they make varsity, or
Right.
if they had 20 wins this year, or the state champ is the icing on the cake. But like, just watching these kids grow and get better year after year, and wrestling's not easy. So to even see them last that long in the sport of wrestling is a job in itself, because it ain't easy to last that long, especially if you start at a real young age.
Dr. John, I'm sorry, John, I'm just reading one more comment saying girls wrestling is one of the best things the NJSIAA has passed in recent memory. At our matches, when the girls hit the mat, the spectators are into it. Our girls are competing each weekend and they love it. As more girls see the passion their friends have, our numbers have grown. I now have 17 girls on the team from all walks of life and athletic backgrounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Jen,
Very
by the way, our
nice.
good friend Dan Worley saying what's going on. So
Very
what's
nice.
up, Dan?
Hello, Dan. Thanks for watching, popping in. Coach, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your staff that you have at Cordoba Trained.
So my fiance, like I said earlier, is my, my rocker here at this gym. And she was a huge fixture of getting this girls program started. We started with one girl named Emily Santos. She wrestles now at Morris Knoll. She's a seventh grader. She came in here very timid, scared, only girl in the whole program, and really was just like, was just trying to fit in. And there was a point in time, she was coming all the way from Secaucus all the way over here, and it was a far ride on that, that Route 3 traffic, Route 46, and they take an hour to get here. And my
Not to
fiance
interrupt you,
was,
Coach, but we
Yeah.
picked our whole location based for where we live based on that Route 3
Yeah.
traffic. Okay, sorry, go on.
yeah. So it's funny you say that, because they were gonna move to somewhere far away, Hackettstown or something like that, and because they built such a relationship with my fiance and me, they moved to Rockaway to be closer to us.
Wow.
That's
and
great.
and
Nice.
and from that girl, we snowballed up to 45 girls, and Misty was kind of a huge factor, because it was all boys. I'm a guy. I was coaching the room, and she's a girl, so they felt, she felt comfortable being that there was another girl in the room, and that's what led her to stay. And then she brought her little sister in, and then the rest is history now. But so Misty being one of the main reasons we are where we are now. And I just talking about me being a wrestling club, how the world comes around, is Chris Gafari, who was my high school and youth club coach in Fairfield. He was an All-American at TCNJ, Bloomfield guy. He owned a wrestling school, and now he works for me now as my assistant coach. And life came full circle, so he's here on board with us. We just hired Nick Monteleone. He was a wrestler for Hackensack and Springfield University, amongst other people that come in and out of this room. We got a nice little staff that kind of can work with the very beginner kids and have the patience for that, up until the very more experienced kids. And the new venture we're on, teaching girls wrestling, which is a whole nother animal in itself, for many reasons, good and bad.
That's great.
I was going to ask you one, like why Cordoba train wrestling, but you kind of answered it already about like why it would be awesome to work this. So I'm going to go a little different avenue with you. So I know you were saying you get involved with the parents and it's a 24-hour job. How is it like going to matches? Like, do you go to like say high school matches, or if they're in the little tournaments, like for the little kids and stuff like that? And two, do you guys have it where, you may have two high school kids, say I'm just throwing names out, like a Carney and a Harrison kid, where you're training those kids, but those kids are going to wrestle each other in a high school match. Does that happen, or it doesn't really happen like that?
Everything you say happens. Everything you just said. So let's start from the beginning. I go to matches every weekend I go to tournaments for the youth kid. I even go to they're called jamborees, where little kids are like literally 300 kids in one mat. They're like little ants. And some people are like, what are you doing here, man? This is meant for like crazy moms and dads. Like, you need to like you're a club coach. You should be at like a big tournament somewhere. I said, dude, listen to me. This is where the foundation's built from the youth program, you know, and I need them when they're that young. And then the parents just love the fact that we're there at those events, and we don't like, you know, kind of just like pass them by. And as far as kids wrestle each other, this happens every single day. And it's not 2 kids, it's 3, 4, 5, 6 kids deep, you know, and it really stinks because, you know, you want to see them all succeed, you want to see them all win, but
Right.
at the end of the day, they all want to win a state championship, and they all got to get past each other. And it's tough, but I just tell them, listen, you guys are both trained, and it's, you know, everybody knows that you wrestle different than you wrestle in the room in a real match, you know. So like, who steps up and who's the one that can come through in a real life situation and let the best winner win. And the worst is when it's like in a state tournament, you know, and it's like, you know, that's when it's like, you know, like really meaningful and whatnot.
Right.
And now that all these girls are here, it's just like they're all in the same weight class and they all want to win. But you know, I tell you what, the girls, if you go to any girl tournament, win or lose, some of these girls are like hugging each other, you know, like high-fiving each other after the match is over. And they're like giving these big, huge hugs. And then they're like friends on Snapchat and Instagram.
So you weren't doing that back in high school. You weren't doing that with the guys.
No way, man. I hated you. I didn't want to be nowhere near you. Don't talk to me. I don't want to be friends with you. And this social media now, these kids are friends with each other on Instagram, and they're about to wrestle each other the next week. And it's like, it's crazy because, like, you know, when you step in a circle with me, I just cut weight. I trained all year long for this moment. I don't want to be friends with you. Well, maybe I'll be friends with you after the match, but not during the match.
Maybe.
Right.
And yeah, maybe.
See how the result goes before you say
maybe,
it.
yeah. It's funny because I was just browsing through YouTube the other day, and I don't really have any matches of me in high school because I feel like I'm old now. I'm about to be 40 in July. And like I wrestled in 2000. So, you know, all of a sudden I type my name to look for something else. And then my state final, my sophomore year comes on. So think about that. That's like 1998. And it comes on. That's the one I lost. And I watch it and I couldn't sleep all night long. And I wouldn't stop thinking about it for like a week. And I'm like, you were like 16 years old. Why the hell are you still pissed about it? I'm still pissed about it, you know? And I'm like, and I'm friends with the guy, and his son's wrestling now, and his name's Oliver Ruiz. We're really good friends. And, but I'm still mad about that match, and I can't get over it. I looked over at my fiance. She's like, why would you watch that at 1 o'clock at night? I said, she's like, now you're not going to bed. And I'm like, I'm not. And then we started chatting about it. She's like, are we really talking about your sophomore year in high school? I'm like, yeah, we are. But yeah, you know, it's, you know, these kids these days, you know, it's a different world, and, you know, they know who they're wrestling. They know everything about their opponent. When we were younger, we had to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get the Star Ledger in front of Krausers and see who you were wrestling. And you didn't even know what that guy looked like until you stepped in the mat with him, you know, because there was no internet, there was no pictures, no nothing, you know. So I was like, oh, this is the guy I've been reading about for years, you know, and you get out in a circle and you do your business. But it's a different world, but it's good and bad,
Yep.
I think.
Yeah. Coach, we're going to do a little segment with you before we go called Rapid Fire for some more fast-paced questions.
Yeah.
All right, first one. Who is the best wrestler you ever faced?
Best wrestler I ever faced was, wow, that's a tough one. Best wrestler I ever faced. This is supposed to be rapid, right? This is not happening rapid. I mean, listen, I wrestled, oh my God, I wrestled so many tough kids. You know, listen, when I wrestled Frankie Edgar in my junior year in the finals, he was a gamer, man, and it was a tough match between him and I. We ended up going to college together and being roommates, and we battled in a room every day. You know, and we're friends, but we battle each other every day in a room. that was one of my toughest competitors. And then in the high school nationals, a couple matches. But I can't narrow it down. I have many.
All right, Coach. Okay. You're a wrestler. You make weight. You win your match. What would you want to eat first to celebrate?
Oh wow! anything in sight. You know what? Believe it or not, I'd want my mom's cooking. It was always like she knew what I wanted: chicken cutlets, rice, and I'm Spanish, so it was always rice and beans and chicken and stuff like that. So, nice. Because I knew if I ate that other stuff, I get sick to my stomach because I've been eating right all year long. But when the season was over, Taco Bell.
There you
Thank
go.
God I didn't blow up like every other wrestler blew up. They blew up, you know, and you look at me like you would never think that guy was stage champ. You know, it's crazy.
So you talk about food. Grew up in Kearney, obviously. Yeah. Stashes, big sandwich place. Would you take Stashes? Was a great one. Would you go Stashes or would you go another one if you needed to go for a sandwich?
In Kearney?
Or you know what? No, go anywhere. You're Fairfield, and give me a sandwich place. Let's do this. Is Stashes the number one in Kearney?
It was.
Okay.
I think it was. And then, believe it or not, Midland Dairy has a good day.
They do.
Has a good.
They do.
Has good sandwiches too. You know. And then the other one on the Pike, Capeluti's.
Capeluti's, yes.
Yeah. They had good ones. But I'm a cheesesteak guy, so like there was a place, Russo's in North Wildwood.
We go all the time.
Yeah,
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. So
you might wait there. You might wait there for an hour and 20 minutes for your food.
Yeah,
but you better order it ahead of time.
Well, the good thing was that I had a short house in Wildwood. My pretty much my entire life in North Wildwood. So I spent every summer there, like pretty much my whole teenage years, stuff like that. So all the girls that worked at Russo's were my friends. So I get the back door, slip it out.
Yeah,
no line for me.
Nice. No wait for you.
So Russo's cheesesteak is my number one.
Okay.
All right, Coach, real quick, I'm going to go off script on my rapid. So now you coach in Fairfield. I grew up in North Caldwell, went to West Essex, where Fairfield, and I teach in Fairfield, actually. So are you any Fairfield eateries that you're a fan of?
I mean, listen, we're always at Piper Steakhouse. And we're always at Brook Tap House.
Okay, yep.
Which one of my buddies' sons that comes here from 40, they train here as well. Fairfield, where else do we go? I haven't tried that place, Loomies, yet. I don't know if that's good. I don't know.
What was that one?
Loomies.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Loomies just opened up right there. It's right down the road here on the way to Wawa on the right-hand side.
I'm going to give you one to check out at Deli, Il Classico. Have you been there, Il Classico?
Why does it sound familiar?
It's right on 46 where the Dunkin' Donuts and the Walgreens is in that little mini mall.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I've been there. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that. You know what's funny about that place was, you know, you walk in there and just like, everybody knows each other. Yep. and like, I felt like I was walking into the scene of Sopranos. So I'm looking there and I walk in and I see my buddy Dave Farrell's picture on the top, on the wall inside. And I'm like, yeah, this place is definitely a little nuts here. They got Dave's picture up in there. And I was a little timid going in there, and then I went in, and now I'm kind of cool with everybody there. So
they're nice people there, very nice people, and good food, lots of good food.
My last one for you, Coach. Next Sunday, Bengals Rams. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Oh man, you know, I wish it was. I wish the Rams were going to play. That Rams just beat who again?
49ers.
I was cheering for the 49ers, you know, but I'm going to go with the Bengals. Not because I'm see, my fiance is from Ohio, so she's a Steelers fan, but she's an hour away from Pittsburgh, so she's a huge Steelers fan. My Giants stink, so that's why I stopped cheering for them, and I've been cheering for the Steelers all year long. So if I'm going to stick with Ohio, I want the Bengals to win. Just because, just for her, I guess. But yeah, I'll be watching.
Okay. All right, and Coach, my last one for you is a true rapid fire. You have a multiple choice question. Your preference: Nike, Under Armour, or Adidas?
Under Armour all day. just Under Armour is everything, and we try to get all our gear in Under Armour, and every time we go to tournaments in Pennsylvania every single weekend, and we're always in the Pocono Mountain area, and we're down by the outlets.
Oh, nice.
So every time we go out there, me and my fiance come back with loads of stuff from Under Armour, and we just get it embroidered with my logo on it, and it's the only thing that fits good. But Adidas, I mean, you got to love the wrestling shoes. Nike, not too much wrestling, more Adidas and Under Armour.
All right, great. Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure to have you. We wish you continued success with Cordoba trained, and please keep up the good work.
Yeah,
with
and
all
we'd
the
absolutely
wrestlers.
love to catch up with
Yeah,
you again.
absolutely.
Some of your wrestlers and stuff like that.
You guys are more than welcome to stop in anytime. Film a segment. I told the girls that I was going on to talk to you guys. A couple of them wanted me to do a shout out to them.
Awesome.
Lucia, Chi, she wanted me to say something for you. Asia Torres. Who else that said something to me? Jennifer Laurie. It's just amongst them. But then, they're just look out for the Cordoba Train girls, because we're going to be winning a lot of state titles this year. And we're looking to sweep the first 2 weight classes and a couple up top. So just look forward to that, and our boys down in Atlantic City in March.
No, awesome. We'd love to do that. Step down
absolutely. We're gonna
and
take you
get
up
some
on
of the
that
kids
for
on.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Awesome.
All right, Coach.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Dave.
much.
Guys.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dave Cordoba. 2 great guests tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. 2 great guests. And that was a great show.
Yep.
Great
So,
show.
Thank you to Coach Logan, of course, Coach Cordoba, and thank you everybody for watching.
And we will see you guys next Tuesday